Here's one for you. I had a bit of a brainwave there earlier. As you can imagine, I do think from time to time, if not incessantly, over the last couple of days, what am I going to think about in the podcast? And I think of things. I was like, oh yeah, that'd be interesting. Or I could say this, that'd be interesting. But they're not episodes. They're just a tidbit of information that I find interesting. And I think that other people might find interesting. And indeed, things that I think other people should know. But I'll think of endless amounts of these things, but they don't fully. I for the most part, when I think of them, I don't go, "Oh yeah, I get 15 minutes out of that." So what I'm going to try and do today, just for the crack, is as I think of something, I'm going to record it. I'm going to hit pause basically on the recording, and then when I think of something else, I'm going to hit pause again, which reinvokes the recording. And hopefully what will happen is I'll have made essentially maybe 20, 30 seconds to a minute long pieces, but all in the one recording. And hopefully it won't be too jarring or too choppy. I'll try and make an end to each one of them and start each one of them fresh so that you can see that they're individual pieces, or I might try and do it kind of seamlessly. It's hard to know, but we're on a minute and 30 seconds already, and this is the first one. So we'll see how this goes. It's mad too how time slips away from you. I sat down and I made a minute and a half recording, but I sat down on the couch, which is probably too comfortable, and made the recording. And then, do you know what happened? 25 minutes disappeared. I lost 25 minutes of the day that I'll never get back because I was on my phone and I was checking the downloads and I was fucking just fannying around basically, doing nothing. And that's out of force of fucking habit. We pick up our phones and we stare into them, and we think we're on it for 10 seconds, but we're really on it for 5 minutes. And that's fine. But we do it 10 times a day. So that's an hour out of the day. Like, what would you give? Like, most people would give their left nut to have an hour in the day. But that hour is there if we just fucking discipline ourselves a little bit better. There's a guy I'm a big fan of, and I've mentioned this before. His name is Jocko Willink. I think he wrote a book. What did he write a book about? Discipline Equals Freedom is actually the name of it. And I haven't read the book, but you can imagine where you can see where he's coming from. You can see where the point he's trying to make. Discipline equals freedom. So the more disciplined you can make yourself. So for example, for me this morning, I have 2 or 3 things that I need to do, but I've managed to spend the last hour not doing any of those things. But if I was a little bit more disciplined, I would have dropped the kids to school. I wouldn't have come home. I wouldn't have come home in the first place to walk around the house scratching my head wondering what I should be doing. What I should have done was had a plan. When I drop the kids to school, where am I going? And I should have went straight there. Now maybe that was home, especially these days when we can't really move around the place. But the point being, if I had made a plan to do the 2 things that I knew I wanted to get done today and fucking did them, then when I had maybe 2 or 3 hours to play with, I could say, do you know what? I've done everything that I need to do. I'm going to take a fucking me day. I'm just going to fucking relax for 5 minutes for once. I mean, I didn't ask for this lockdown, but I fucking deserve it. I've been working me bollocks off for the last 20 odd years, and I've barely taken a day off, never mind a couple of weeks. Now, granted, I can't go anywhere or do anything, but that's no excuse. Saying that you can't go anywhere or do anything is exactly as I said. It's an excuse. There's far more things you can do that you're just either unaware of or not willing to admit. So maybe today or another day, or plan to do it tomorrow, whenever you listen to this. What do you have to do? What do you need to get done today? And go and fucking do it. And if it takes you the full day to do it and your day is over, so be it. At least you've fucking done everything you had to do. And if you get it done ahead of time, well, that's a fucking bonus. I mean, imagine the difference in your life if you could just basically get on top of shit. Imagine the difference in your life if you didn't beat yourself up all the time over not doing that thing that you knew you were supposed to do. And like most things, if you're anything like me, you don't do something and it builds and builds and builds and builds in your brain to this big, huge thing. I can't look at it, I don't want to touch it, it's too much. When realistically, if you just fucking went and did it, it'd be done. This kind of train of thought is making me thinking about the lawns here at the house. I've a back garden and a front garden that I mow. And it's fucking gas. There's days when I look out and I'm like, oh, I couldn't be arse mowing it. I leave it for a couple of days. Oh yeah, good one, Fran. Oh yeah, you leave it for a couple of days. And then it pisses rain and you can't mow it. And 2 weeks go by and then you've got this huge big thing that you have to do. Now, the lawn is different to most things because the lawn will get progressively worse. But a lot of things are like that as well. If the thing that's after just jumping into my fucking mind there is you see a little speck of mold on the ceiling of your bathroom and you're like, oh fuck, I better replace that fan, because if I don't, that's just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse until I have a whole black ceiling, and it's fucking disgusting and dangerous because mold spores can be dangerous. And it's just manky. You don't want to have a black moldy ceiling when you're having your showers. But how many of us do that? We see the little thing and we go, oh yeah, we'll get that again. It gets a little bigger, oh, we get that again. And these things that get incrementally worse, they're like the hour hand on a clock. You know they're moving, but it's very hard to see it in the moment. And it's not mad. I was just thinking there. Think of, if you've listened to me for any length of time before, you're 100% going to have heard me harp on about this idea of incremental improvements or incremental steps. Like, if you want to start running, say, if you like to get into running, pick a point. Pick a point that's whatever distance away from your house, whether it's a pub down the road or a shop or a tree or a bend or an entrance to a field or whatever the fuck it is, the block. Just walk it. Walk it at your leisure. Don't put on, workout clothes or whatever. Just in your fucking jeans and t-shirt or whatever you usually wear, just go for the walk. But time yourself. Practically everyone listening to this fucking podcast for a start is listening to it on a smartphone. All smartphones have clocks and practically all clocks have stopwatches. I'm sure you can fucking download one if you don't have one. But hit the stopwatch. See how long it takes you to walk around at your leisure. Then do it again the next day or the day after and just see if you can shave a few seconds off it. Don't try and fucking half it. But if you just keep doing that, incrementally you'll get faster and faster. And what will happen is you'll kind of catch yourself power walking. And it's actually easier to jog at your leisure than it is power walk. So all of a sudden, the next thing you know, you're jogging whatever distance that was. Maybe you need to shorten the distance, maybe you need to extend it, whatever. But just have a number. It's so beneficial to have a number. It's having a target. It's having something to aim at. And if you take something step by step like that, who knows, in a month or 2 months, you could be fucking running. You could be running a 5K. It might take you 45 minutes, but I mean, it's just another target to try and beat. But I digress, as always. The point I'm making here is I've been harping on about incremental improvements forever, but I've never even thought, let alone mention, incremental disimprovements. Okay, so the days, and you'll feel this, the days you do something, like if you've started something with this lockdown, if you started something, whether it's breathing or stretching or cold showers or sorting your diet or whatever it is, you get a couple of days back to back, you'll feel better about yourself. But the contrary is true. Now, it mightn't be as obvious because good habits are typically something that you consciously do. You're not going to start walking with the view of running and having a yardstick, so your time, having that time to beat all the time. You're not going to do something like that by accident. But you will do something like, spend an hour a day on the couch by accident, or maybe 2 or 3 or 4 hours on the couch. You'll do these things by accident. You'll double, treble, or quadruple your calorie intake by accident. And in the same way, incremental improvements get you to where you would like to be bit by bit. Incremental disimprovements do the exact same fucking thing. And I suppose what that leads me to think of now is habit. Good and bad habits. People get into the habit of training. People get into the habit of being a lazy bastard and watching Netflix for 4 hours every evening. Good habits and bad habits will get you there. Incrementally, all the time, without fail. So fucking, again, I was going to say, pick a direction. Do you want to have a whole load of good habits, or do you want to have a whole load of bad habits? And again, the good habits are going to need intention. They're going to need effort. Bad habits are usually what you do when you're not doing your good habits. People get into the habit of being productive, and people get into the habit of being non-productive. People get into the habit of having positive thoughts. People get into the habit of having negative thoughts. And you create patterns within your own life. So maybe be aware of them. Again, it's so painful to always seem to circle back around to this idea of awareness. I say it's painful, but I mean that's the beauty of it, that it all circles back to the one thing. So if we could just be a little bit more aware, and again, Podge was saying to me this idea of asking yourself why are you sitting on the couch? Why are you pacing up and down the house, wondering what to do? Opening the fridge door. Why are you searching in the press? Are you hungry or are you just fucking bored? Do you need to pick up a book? Do you need to go for a fucking walk? And if you've nothing to do, go for a fucking walk. Get your thoughts down on a page. Ever aspired to writing a book or a short story or a poem? Let me guess, the only thing that's been stopping you your entire life is not having the time. Well, if you're anything like me, you've got fucking time to beat the band. So, if not now, when? There's one for you. If not now, when? You've 5 odd weeks of lockdown ahead of you. If not now, when? All those times over your life that you said you wanted to do something, you wanted to do this, you wanted to do that, but you couldn't because, you had to go to work and you had to do this. But now's the fucking opportunity. Again, and it's all to do with your framework, or your frame of mind, should I say. Is this lockdown the worst thing that's ever happened to you, or is it the best thing that's ever happened to you? That's a choice for the most part. Now, it's not a choice for everyone. I mean, if your brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers and best friends and wife and children all die of COVID, that's not really a choice. But realistically, for the most part, how affected have you been by COVID? Okay, yeah, it's disrupted your kind of daily life patterns, and it may have affected your income and all the rest of it. But realistically, are you going to starve to death? Unlikely. Highly unlikely. So hopefully that recording wasn't too jarring, wasn't too jumpy. I'll obviously listen back to it and I'll make my decision on whether or not that's something that I'm going to continue with. But there's something to it though. I think our lives are a little bit like that. They're a little bit jumpy and all over the place and not well put together. And the beauty of doing these and not having them prepared, say, is that I get to see, I don't know, I get to fucking feel out what I'm about, what this whole thing is about, and it's been an eye-opener now this morning. It's been an eye-opener. I think I'm just going to try and get more disciplined. And look, I don't mean to pile on, you should be more disciplined and you should be taking cold showers and you should be doing breath work and meditation and sorting your diet out and going for runs. You don't have to do all or any of those things. But so long as you're not fucking just going round in circles and bouncing off the walls and ruminating and just pacing up and down in your house going, oh my god, this is terrible, this is awful, because man, and I've said this from the outset, the clocks went back recently, it's getting darker and darker progressively, it's looking like Christmas could be fucking practically cancelled this year. The Grinch in me is saying whoop-de fucking do for that. But yeah, so hopefully my figuring my life out is in some way helping you to figure your life out. What I'm going to concentrate on this week is my discipline. This morning what I've learned is this 6 weeks will fucking pass, and quicker than I want it to pass, if I don't pull my finger out and get organised. So I might take today as get my shit together day. Maybe make it a bit of a plan for the rest of the week. Because there are things that I'm doing. I have workouts that I do. I have breath work. I have meditation, but I don't have them scheduled. I think that's what I need more than anything. And if it's what I need more than anything, odds are it's what most people need more than anything. And it's a schedule. It's a plan for the week ahead. Because what's that fucking cliche? Fail to plan, you plan to fail. And on that cliched note, I'll chat to you tomorrow. But before I let you go, I'd just like to remind everybody that this episode and all the episodes on YouTube have been brought to you by past guest and friend of the show, Pat McKeown. Pat is very similar to myself insofar as that he's long had an interest in the mind and more specifically the brain and how they both interact, to such an extent that he went and spent 4 years getting a degree in neuroscience, and then spent a further year in getting a master's in psychology. Now, what he's done is pretty fucking cool. He's after setting up his own YouTube channel. It's called Pat's Psychology Masters, and there's a link in the description. Now, what he's done here is he's uploaded all the best bits that he's learned over the last 5 years and put them into short, plain English, easy to understand YouTube videos for the likes of myself. His YouTube channel has been a massive resource for me in understanding both my mind and the mind of others. So hit up Pat's Psychology Masters YouTube channel, subscribe, give it a like and a comment and a share. All that kind of stuff helps, and I'll chat to you soon.